My grandparents own a cabin on a remote lake a few hours from the city that we live in. I've been going there my whole life, in my 40s now, along with my entire family, including many uncles and aunts and cousins. It's pretty much just where we party and relax, playing cards, fishing, riding ATVs, and usually a healthy amount of alcohol for the adults. There's about 70 cabins and some campgrounds around the lake too, lively in the summer and completely dead in the winter. So, a few years back, some of us cousins decided to replace the original cabin floor with pergo. People chipped in and I agreed to lay the flooring. This was in January. So, one of my cousins, a female with a full-size truck, picked up the flooring and went to drop it at the cabin. She had planned on staying the night and returning the next day, but as she was bringing in the stuff, a man walked into our lot and approached her. Luckily, she had a .45 holstered on her belt. We get hungry and curious black bears occasionally, and a mountain lion once in a blue moon. The guy starts asking questions, but she's more focused on his appearance. He's a typical homeless drug user look, but with really dead eyes. She repels his questions and tells him that he needs to move on, while keeping a distance for enough time to draw and fire if necessary. Luckily, again, he says bye and he just moves on. But she has a gut feeling to just get the hell out, drops the stuff quickly, and she splits. A few weeks after that, I head up for the weekend to work alone. She had told me about the guy, but I just figured that he was a hungry drifter or something. I do a little prep work that evening, and I crash around 10 p.m. Maybe because I was alone too, I decided to sleep with my pistol. Scaredy cat, right? I'm not sure what time it was, but I woke up to footsteps on the deck. Super light footsteps too, but it's a creaky deck, so I initially thought it was a bear. I was about to sit up when a shadow crossed the window. I didn't move, except to grab my gun, which was under the covers with me. I was glad that I had it, but I still felt relatively paralyzed in that moment. Then he just stepped in front of the window, and my eyes immediately closed to a slit, but I could still see that it was a man, but just the figure with a subtle detail, because there wasn't much moonlight. I could actually see his scraggly beard off to the sides of his face as well, but no face details. Now obviously, a gun only helps if you aren't petrified with fear, but in the back of my mind, I knew that if this guy got in, he was definitely getting shot. And sure enough, after watching me for maybe an hour, he tried sliding the window. Luckily, it was locked since it was winter. So he moves to a sliding glass door, but that's locked too. Then to the front door, and the whole time I'm thinking, should I get up now and freak out or wait until he gets in? And honestly, I was getting pissed and almost wanted him to just come in. This piece of crap scared my cousin, and now he's been terrorizing me for at least a few hours. Last I heard, he had tried the front door handle, but nothing for about 5 minutes. I was sick of this and about to get up and go crazy when he's back at my window. So I just continue laying there. There was a feeling in the air, though, of just, I don't know how to express it, but madness is the best word. Like, this person's energy was capable of just really horrible things. Another full hour of watching me goes by, and then he just slips away and he's gone. I keep listening, but I don't hear anything else. Minutes are like hours, and finally the sun comes up. I creep room to room, pistol ready, but there's nothing. Another hour of the sun getting higher, and I was ready to check outside. I searched the whole property, woodshed and the water tower. He was gone, thankfully, but he definitely left some footprints. They were fresh off the deck, with obviously different sole patterns than mine. I reported everything to the rangers, and we told the other cabin owners to spread the word. And after that, I decided to just bury it in my mind, because I really love the place, and nothing will stop me from going there. I was around 10, and the year was around the year 2000. It was Thanksgiving, and my birthday is November 23rd. This is the date for Thanksgiving, like once every 4 years. I can't recall if the day in question was one of my birthdays or not, but it's not really that important. So, I live in South Mississippi, and for holidays, sometimes we go see our extended family one town over. They have a big house, lots of land, live out in the woods, and have smaller buildings around the main house, which were being used as storage mainly. When we arrived, my parents introduced me to the cousin of mine that I had never met, named Zach. He was 1 year older than me, making him about 11 at the time, I think. We hit it off instantly too, and we went upstairs to play Mario Kart on the SNES. After an hour of that, we took to running around outside for a little bit, which led to us exploring the smaller buildings on the property. We came across one that could have been an apartment for someone, and it had a small kitchen, a refrigerator, TV, a living area, and some workout machines on the first floor, and it wasn't a big building at all. The upstairs consisted of 2 empty bedrooms and a very small hallway dividing them. The upstairs rooms were to the immediate left and right at the top of the stairs as well. So me and Zach went up there and we found an empty room to the right, but the door on the left was closed. Well, we went back to the first floor and fired up the TV so that we could be away from all the adults for a while and just hang out. One of my uncles even came in to grab some frozen food from the freezer and told us to have fun and be safe. The usual adult platitudes. Roughly half an hour goes by when, out of nowhere, we heard a loud crash, and it sounded like a car crash if I'm being honest, or maybe something akin to a loud metal object falling through a house. And it all seemed to be coming from upstairs. Naturally, we wondered what the hell was going on. Me going first, went to the staircase to see what was up, and there he is. A neon green figure, similar to how the Flying Dutchman from SpongeBob is depicted, transparent and bright green, was just staring over the railing at us. It was hanging halfway out of the previously locked door, just staring at us, and the door was cracked open now. His torso stopped at the door. Me and Zach both screamed bloody murder and ran back to the main house and told our parents, who laughed it off as kids being kids. I think someone even made the statement that it could be a deceased cousin of ours that stayed over there at one point, or something like that. To this day, my mother even brings it up sometimes because we both love the paranormal stuff. But it being so long ago, I'm pretty sure that my memories have at least distorted it a little bit. That image of the green man sticking through a door and leering at me down a staircase, and that loud crash will be with me forever. So guys, if you have any similar stories, I sure would love to hear them. I usually just lurk here, but I've heard a few stories in my time that kind of line up with my own, so if you have any explanations as to what this could be, I would really love to hear it. A week or so ago, I went for my very first job interview. It was just a 10-minute bus ride away, and I happened to get a seat alone because it was like 10 a.m. in the morning, meaning rush hour was well over. So there I was, 18 and all dressed up for the occasion, and looking kind of like Amy from Brooklyn 99, I suppose. But that's how I dressed anyway. I was sitting there minding my own business, listening to music, when I made eye contact with him. Mid-30s, dark, tightly curled hair, somewhat of a small beard and creepo-style moustache, sloppy dress and a backpack. I didn't take notice until I was getting off and he got off too, saying hello to me. I said hi back, not making much notice, and thanked the bus driver. Straight away, this dude was on me. He began to ask my name and what my number was. I felt uneasy and creeped out, so I told him I wasn't allowed to tell random strangers that because my parents are protective. Total lie. They're actually pretty chill when it comes to things like this. And then he began his pity spiel about how he came from somewhere in India and had no friends or family in Ireland, and how he was just so lonely. Then he asked for my address, and I said no again, and he was saying that he'd meet my parents and they could get to like him. I instantly lied and said my interview was soon, when really it was actually about another 50 minutes away, but screw that. In the end, I made a good impression by being early anyway. I came out afterwards feeling really good, and this dude was still waiting outside for me. He began to stroll around with me and followed me into the pharmacy because I needed to buy something. He then began telling me about how he worked as a chef in the resort in the village and how he would bring me out for tea. I lied and I said I had no money, to which he said that he'd pay for me because the bus wouldn't be there for another hour and we could walk down when we saw the bus arrive. I declined and I said I wanted to have a walk around by myself because my friends living nearby would be meeting me. Again, another lie. And the reason for this is that you can't actually see the bus stop from the resort, and he seemed intimidated by the pack thing and after that just kind of scurried off. But here's why I lied. Firstly, he seemed way too upfront. Second, he was smiling and laughing when he told the pity story, meaning that he wasn't really sad about it. Third, I know a girl who's a pastry chef and the daughter of a baker. I've done some economics classes, and facial hair isn't allowed in hotel or resort kitchen areas. And fourthly, that scenario is just how most Law and Order or CSI or Criminal Minds stuff starts. So, to cut to a while later, I'm hanging at the bus stop and the bus arrives, and guess who doesn't? The dude. I don't know what happened to him, and I really don't know why he followed me for hours like that, and tried so hard to get me to go with him, but I really hope that I don't see him again. About a year and a half ago, I was standing on my back deck just having a smoke. I live in a row of duplexes where the back of my house directly faces the back house of the street behind me. From where I was standing, I could see into their kitchen window and dining room and living room. Also, the layouts of these houses are all pretty similar. I also think that it's probably pretty important to mention that I was completely sober at the time. It was in the summer around dusk. I would say 9 o'clock as my kid and fiancé were both in bed. It was light enough out that I could see clearly in my backyard, but dark enough that the windows in the house facing me were bright and clear, allowing me to see into them. From what I can tell, too, it's a pretty normal couple that lives there. A bald man who seems to do all the cooking, his short blonde wife who jogs and has an in-home daycare. I often see them in the evening eating supper and hanging out before bed while I'm on the deck smoking. Nothing about them or their house ever struck me as odd, until this incident. Nothing like this has ever happened since. So, as I was standing there, I noticed something in their kitchen window. From what I can gather, the kitchen window is in front of a sink, and at first glance I thought it was a child in a costume, specifically a Spider-Man costume as it looked red. This child was perched in the window with its leg bent, arms bent as well. In my head, I was trying to rationalize how this kid was holding this position so well in the space, what size it would have to be to fit there, etc. As I was trying to figure this out, all of a sudden this thing starts swinging from the ceiling. Exactly how you would imagine a monkey swinging too. It swings around the kitchen and into the other rooms. I can see it moving throughout the windows. The entire time the couple in this house seems completely unaware of it too. They're just going about their business tidying up, walking from room to room, not affected at all by this thing hanging from the ceiling and moving to and fro from the kitchen window. I was obviously mesmerized. I couldn't stop watching because I was trying to figure out what the hell it was. If it was a kid, why weren't they yelling at them for being so reckless? If it was an animal, why hadn't I seen it before? I continued watching, and with every second that passed, I just grew more and more confused. It moved sharp and quickly. The size and perspective seemed to shift based on where it was. Then it came back to the window, and it perched again. This time, I tried to focus very hard on its features. I couldn't make out any details except that it was really skinny and flexible and had an angular face and was red. As I watched it, all of a sudden I just got this feeling of absolute terror and dread. This thing was making eye contact with me and I could tell. I couldn't make out what color the eyes were, which I know doesn't make sense, but it was all blurring together kind of. Suddenly, I felt locked in place. This window was about 150 feet away, and I felt like it was getting closer. This thing in the window then started projecting itself towards me. In fact, exactly how things come toward you in a 3D movie. This is hard to explain, but it kind of stayed on the window but got closer. I stood there for a few seconds, frozen with fear, and then I felt like it was going to come so close that it would touch me. I have never felt so scared and threatened in my life, and I immediately turned away, ran inside, and got my fiancé. I was terrified and didn't want to go outside again, so I made him come to the upstairs bathroom window and peek out into the window. This thing was still very much there. It was swinging around from the ceiling again, almost playfully. It came back to the window and looked out a few times and then continued to move around the house. Now, my fiancé is an atheist. He doesn't believe in ghosts or God or anything he can't see. But he saw it and was not able to explain it too. He said to me, "It must be a monkey, right?" and just brushed it off. I explained what I experienced to him, and he agreed that it was messed up, but that was the end of it for him pretty much. He was satisfied with the one-night-only monkey explanation, and that was the end of it. To be honest, though, I feel like it's more likely that this was something paranormal than a visiting monkey in a costume that was never to be seen again, and I'm hoping that you can help me figure it out. This has honestly shaken me, and I've spent a lot of time looking up demons or entities, trying to figure out what it could have been, and why it got so close to me. Or was it trying to possess or attack me or something? How come it was only there once? I've looked into the history of the area where we lived as best as I can, and it really hasn't turned up anything that's jumped out at me. And so, any direction or feedback that you guys might have would be greatly appreciated. G'day mates, it's Busta here. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you would like to help me out, then please go ahead and watch another video by clicking on a card on the screen. As always guys, thanks for all the love and support, and I'll see you mates in the next one.